What's up, you guys? It's Rob here in Zeus. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We're going to be talking about the sectors and going over our sectors within the S&P 500 and then talking about each one of our watch lists for the week. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Zeus. But before we do that, if you can, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and all that kind of stuff. Ring the bell, yada, yada, yada. All right. Zeus, want to take it over?
Sure. Alrighty, so first we're going to go off with the sectors this week. First things first, we're starting off with XLC. So XLC, we got a 3, failed 2 down. Overall, we did grab this liquidity from right here. Ultimately, we tested it twice. Notice how we failed to get any body close through. So what does that likely mean? It's nothing more than a liquidity grab. So likely what I'm looking for this week is for some upside into XLC. And something I like a lot with XLC is actually Netflix, but we will get to that a little later, so stay tuned. So the call trigger we have for XLC is 65.70. Overall, our first price target is the equal highs up here at 67.04, and then we have a gap fill up to 68.42. We do have a put trigger. Not really interested in the put trigger, but if it was the trigger, it's at 64.32 overall. First price target to the downside is 63.31. Don't really see much further than that. XLY. XLY kind of just in consolidation range right here. We did ultimately create this higher low, kind of hold this volume imbalance right here. So we could potentially start this reversal as well on XLY. So we do have this call trigger here at 165.14. Overall, our first price target is 168.30. And then for the downside, we have a put trigger at 162.10. Overall, first price target is that 160.05 gap fill. And then on to XLP. So within XLP, XLP is kind of stuck in this downtrend. Does look like we potentially are likely going to grab this liquidity. Kind of just in a consolidation for this past week. So we do have a call trigger at 72.60. Overall, looking to target that weekly order block up to 74.06. And then we also have that buy side liquidity on the daily at 74.32 or 34, my apologies. And then we also have a put trigger at 71.97. Our first price target for the puts is 71.77, then headed down to 70.98. And then last but not least is XLF. So XLF right here, we are in this downtrend, but we potentially could start this reversal. Something you want to see to clarify that we've gotten this reversal would be the break of market structure of this candle right here, which would be that 34.31 level. So we have a call trigger at 34.12. Overall, first price target would be this gap fill at 34.82. And then from there up to these equal highs at 35.71. And then as well, we do have a put trigger at 33.71. Overall, first price target for the downside is 33.25. And then Rob, do you want to finish off with the rest of the sectors?
Yeah, I can go ahead and finish off the rest of the sectors here. So picking it up with XLV. So XLV on the week pretty much finished inside here. The huge thing that I see when we step in here is going to be our call trigger at 133.88. We're going to be looking for these relative equal highs here at 134.39. If we wanted to play puts, we could play it down here 132.42. We would be pretty much breaking through the bottom of this order block. So really looking at 132.07 would be that liquidity grab. We would also be filling a void down here in price. Let me highlight that with a nice rectangle here. So we'd be filling this void here, which would be an interesting spot for us to bounce and move back higher. We do have relative equal highs, so at that point we will be back in the near future with XLV. Just noticed I did that on the daily time frame. So 132.42 is going to be your put trigger down to 132.07, and then your call trigger is going to be 134.39. Ultimately, you're going to be wanting to target this tweezer top all the way up here at 136.51. We did work this level 2 weeks prior as well as the week prior to that. So this definitely is a seller stepping in area. Let's hop over here to XLI. The huge thing that I'm noticing with most of the indices is we're getting a nice doji candle here. So you got a bearish order block here sitting at 109.88 for the high of that order. No, my bad, 109.95 for the high of that order block. And then you got 108.16 if you want to play the wicks on it. Most people play the bodies, which I tend to do as well, with a fair value gap as well. So if we're going to break through this, we're going to be pushing through this order block, filling that gap probably on the daily time frame. Yep, we got a gap right there that we got to fill in the daily time frame for XLI. So playing that to the upside, so 107.30 is going to be your call trigger, and you're really going to be wanting to look for that OB fill at 108.16 and 109.95. If we wanted to play puts, we could. With the fact that we wicked down here and wicked down here the previous week, we've held structure. I really wouldn't want to look to the downside, but 105.31 would be your put trigger. So XLB here, nice holding of structure. Like, we created a higher low here, so I'm going to be personally leaning bullish on XLB to the upside. So 81.36 is going to be your call trigger, followed by 82.91 for PT1. PT2 would be 84.26. Ultimately, getting this tweezer top here on the week at 85.86 with those relative equals highs, and it's a definite break of structure if we break that level to the upside. We've sold off 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times. So hopefully holding this, we'll see a test of that. It would be a longer term swing for XLB. XLRE, our real estate ETF that has just gotten beaten to death, and commercial real estate is dying to say the least. We did get a 2 down on the week, but it was a failed 2 down, so we're going to be pushing back up here. We've pretty much just been chopping within a range, and it's been notable buying pressure and recently selling pressure that's been stepping in. So 37.03 is going to be your call trigger, followed by, really, I would want to look for the top of this candle here back from July 24th. 39.20 would be that point. We are also in basically a wedge. We have a descending trend line down and ascending trend line up as well. We're creating higher lows, so we're just basically compressing here. We just got to see which side of this we're going to break out on. So that's overall XLRE for the week. If we wanted to play puts, we could. 35.58 would be that put trigger, and then really 34.34 would be your ultimate PT down there, which would be breaking that level of support. So XLK tech is going to be an interesting thing this week because we have a lot of tech earnings reporting on Thursday, I believe it is. So 173.11 is going to be your call trigger. Really, I'm going to be looking for the test and breakthrough of this order block from the 31st of July of 179.03, ultimately testing that all-time high shooter candle that we got back here on July 17th at 181.46. If we did want to play puts, I wouldn't blame you because this is definitely set up to kind of look like we might get a pop early in the week and then we might die here. So 165.65 is going to be your put trigger, and really I would be looking for 162.94, which is going to be this candle down here, and we held this structure as well, so it's going to be a strong level of support here at 162.94. So if you see that, I would set an alert, pretty much get out immediately, and then wait for a reaction. If we break this level, it's going to be a swing down lower. If we take a look at XLU, I've said it before, it's pretty much at a do or die zone, and it got bought up last week. So 62.59 is going to be your put trigger. You're really going to be wanting to look for 61.86, followed by back on October of last year, you're going to be looking at 60.35. With this being a failed 2 down, I would look for us to at least have some form of bounce. So if we wanted to play calls, 64.28 is going to be that point, and then I would look for 65.07 to be our PT1 before we have that bearish fair value gap between those 2 candles. Now I'm going to go ahead and hop over here to my watch list for the week, and I'm going to start it off with good old Tesla, my Tesla. Tesla on the week was definitely very nice. I'm curious to see what it's going to do here. It's pulled back decently. I believe, if I'm correct, if I draw a fib here, it's Yeah, roughly we pulled back 50% of the range. If we pull up our ICT fib as well, yeah, we pretty much came down into the OTE range, bounced off of a fair value gap and created that higher low. We do have some imbalances that we do have to fill on the way up. So we want to take a look at those. We can highlight the volume imbalances. We pretty much filled this one here at 235.70 to 242.65, and then we have one a little bit higher up that's quite tinier, but we can fill that one as well. We do have two bearish fair value gaps as well to playing it to the upside. So if we want to play this for calls, we're going to be looking at 240.82 as our call trigger. Ultimately, I would like for us to see 253.65. The huge thing is if Tesla can get above 242, that's going to be the level that really will open the door to 250 for us on the week. 220.58 would be our put trigger, and we would want to look to sweep the previous week's relative low of 212.36. We do have gaps to the downside and to the upside as well. You can see I have alerts set as well, so I'm definitely looking at buying the Tesla dip if it does continue to dip lower. I would really love to see this down the 183, but I highly doubt that I'm going to get it there. The next thing on my watch list that I have for the week is Berkshire B shares. It has an absolute gorgeous setup here. We created a hammer on the week, so we're going to be playing calls above 357.35. We're going to be looking for that test of 364.63. And if we wanted to play puts on it, we could play it down at 349.61. We'd be gap filling and trying to grab this level here at 345.54. We also do have a volume balance as well for that. And the last thing on my watch list for this week is going to be Netflix. Netflix. And I'm sure Zeus is going to talk about this later. And we created a two up from a strat perspective. 437.02 is going to be your call trigger. Really, I want to see if we can break 445.25. We haven't been able to close a candle body above this level for a very, very long time since we basically sold off back here in January of last year. And if we can break this level here at 445.25, ultimately I would be looking for the test of 485. And I know I'm absolutely crazy, but that's where I think we could be going. We wanted to play puts on it. We could. 399.50 would be your put trigger, and then you would be playing it down to looking at 385.79. You do have a fair value gap down here as well. Two bullish fair value gaps down here as well, so we could balance those out. But overall, that's my watch list for the week. So I'm going to hand it back over here to Zeus for his watch list.
Alrighty, I like that. I like the watch list. Just looking here at ES. So coming off, first things first, Netflix here. On the daily, we have this inside bar. I personally like to enter on a lower time frame, so that's why I always use the 195. As well, we also have an inside bar on the 195. So Netflix already, just based off of my TA, based off of my edge already, we already got our trend line break. We already got our liquidity grab. So therefore, based on that now, ultimately we just need an entry. We already got a pullback actually. So technically speaking, we should have been in this trade already. Well, we even got a pullback to the 786.
Damn.
So coming this week, that you can't tell me Netflix isn't going up. So it's as simple as that. So we got a call trigger at 418.48. Overall, looking our first price target, ideally thinking we're going to get these equal highs up here. So really looking for 445 by Friday. And if we do get an even bigger push than that, we also have this gap fill that gets filled up at 170 here. We do have a put trigger. Not really interested in the put trigger, but if it does trigger, it's at 412.40. Overall, wouldn't really look for much besides maybe coming down here to this 406 level right here, and at lowest maybe 400.
You know what you told
Next
me
up,
about those times when you break a trend line on Netflix and then you come back and
mhm,
retest it?
yeah,
What did it
go
do?
all in. Yeah, you see a trend line breakout retest. That's like it's like a
It's a
all in
money
hand.
setup.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. And then as well, what do you call this? ICT people, the AMD, accumulation, manipulation, distribution, something like that.
Yeah, you have your that probably would be distribution, and then you would have your manipulation leg down, followed by
Mm,
your reversal leg up. So, because that is
okay.
definitely a form of distribution, those candles right there. It's not
Hmm.
accumulation because if it was accumulation, you would break immediately higher. It's distribution because you break lower and then you reverse back up to stop those people out.
Okay, I can see that right here. Okay. Next up, we have AMD. AMD, I like this a lot as well. So, trend lines, I love trend lines. They're so essential for trading. So kind of coming up here on this third touch right here. Basically, because this is off a weekly time frame, essentially you're gonna get a bounce regardless. Now, do we know if we're 100% right yet? We still have to ultimately clear this 106 level, which is 50% of this optimal trade entry range that we have here. If you take it from the low of 80, which we got back on May, and you take it overall to this high up here that we got back from June, you will see that we're sitting right here at this 6-2 Fibonacci level. And then we're also sitting on a third touch. So just that alone, we have two confluences. And then if you look here on a daily time frame, overall, we have this 3 bar failed two down. Essentially, we can even come back up here. So based off of that as well, you can notice how price is going very slow and steady down, very slow and steady down, versus the price to the upside is very aggressive. So just based on that, looks like just a healthy retracement overall. And this potentially could be the bottom. So right here on the 195, we have a outside bar, inside bar. If you trade the strat, you know how effective these patterns can be. So we have a call trigger at 102.90. Overall, our first price target is 111. And then overall, if we get through this 111, we're going straight to 119 because overall price, once price on AMD breaks 112, it's in the price action zone where it goes straight to 117, no ifs, ands, or buts. Every single time 112 is broken. Um, and then as well, we also have a put trigger. AMD could go either way. We are essentially looking to snipe the bottoms on this. And if it was to trigger to the downside, there is some good room to go as well. So we have a put trigger at 101.39. And then as well, notice how we have this aggressive price action to the downside here. Very likely, if we do end up breaking this trend line to the downside, we're getting the same exact aggressive price action back down straight to 93. And if 92 does come, buy that dip. Highly suggested. And last but not least is AI. So AI here, we have a inside bar on the daily, a 3-1 on the daily, and then we also have a 3-1 on the 195. So based on that, like I said, these patterns are very aggressive. They pay very well. So we have a call trigger at this 29.76 level. Overall, looking to target this 33.62, and then as well up to 34.52. And then we have a put trigger at 28.10. Overall, looking to target this 27.01 level. Um, and that's it for the watch list this week.